Tonight you will probably eat something that was once alive. You will not have met it, you will not have touched it while it was still breathing, and nothing about getting it onto your plate cost you a single scratch. But here is something that should stop you cold. For almost the whole of human history, meat had a price, and the price was paid in blood, and some of it was usually yours. No fences, no rifles, no traps working while you slept, no distance at all, not for a single one of your ancestors. Every one of them, going back further than our species goes back, lived under the same arrangement. If you wanted to eat something large, you had to walk into the space where it could reach you. So how did they do it? How did ancient humans kill animals bigger than a car, holding nothing but wood and stone? The answer is far cleverer, far quieter, and far colder than you would ever imagine. Because the story of how humans learned to hunt is secretly the story of how we became the most dangerous animal alive, and the rule they worked out in the grass is still running the world you live in today. So let's go back to the very beginning. Before bows, before villages, before farming. They walked up to it. Picture the animal. Its shoulder is higher than your head, the horns are longer than your arm, and it has spent its whole life surviving things with claws. You are holding a sharpened stick. To feed everyone tonight, you have to close the gap and put that stick into a body built to take punishment. Get it right and your family eats for a week. Get it wrong and a hoof breaks your leg, and out there, that is a slow death sentence. That was the deal. Meat for risk, every single time. And here is where it gets personal, because your body still carries the first attempt at cheating it. Reach your arm back right now as if to throw something. Feel that tightness across the front of your shoulder. That is not muscle tensing. That is tendon and ligaments stretched like a bowstring, storing energy, waiting. When you snap forward, it releases all at once, and your arm moves faster than muscle alone ever could. Your shoulder is a spring. It is the fastest motion your body can make. A chimpanzee cannot do this. A full-grown chimp is twice as strong as you are, and a 12-year-old human outthrows it without trying. The strength was never the point. The storage was. And those changes show up in human skeletons around 2 million years ago, long before farming, long before cave paintings, long before anybody made anything you would call art. The throwing body came first. Evolution was tuning your ancestors to kill from a distance before they had anything worth throwing, so they made something worth throwing. In the 1990s, a coal mine in northern Germany cut into waterlogged ground, the kind where no oxygen reaches and nothing rots. Out of it came 9 wooden spears, sealed away for 300,000 years, roughly as old as our species itself. And they were not sharpened sticks. Each was cut from a young spruce, with the hardest wood at the base of the trunk carved into the tip and the weight concentrated a third of the way back from the point. That last detail is the one that matters. Modern javelins are balanced in the same place, because forward weight keeps the tip leading instead of tumbling. Somebody 300,000 years ago understood how a thrown object behaves in the air, not by writing it down, by throwing, watching, and teaching the next person. When researchers built copies and handed them to trained athletes, they flew and landed on target from across a clearing. But a wooden point punches through hide using nothing but its own hardness. Against a horse, that works. Against something bigger, it crushes, slides, and stops. The fix had already been invented somewhere else entirely. At a site in South Africa, researchers pulled stone points out of ground 500,000 years old, carrying fractures that spread from the tip, the pattern you only get when a hard edge slams into something and stops fast. So the stone tip is 200,000 years older than those German spears. The upgrade arrived before the thing it upgraded, and fixing stone to wood is harder than it sounds. Tie a rock on with plant fibre, and the first impact rips it loose. Neanderthals made glue from birch bark, heated without oxygen until it sweats a black tar that sets like resin. A chemical process, memorized, with no writing. Now here's the part almost nobody appreciates. A spear does not kill by knocking something down. Almost nothing dies from the impact. A wooden point pushes tissue aside and makes a narrow hole that muscle clamps shut around. The animal bleeds slowly and often lives. Stone flakes to an edge finer than surgical steel. Thin enough to slice cell walls apart instead of tearing them. It opens a cut, and the cut stays open. The animal does not fall because it was hit. It falls a few minutes later because its body has run out of blood to move around. And that changes the whole job. You no longer have to win a fight. You have to land one good cut and then be patient. And patience is something humans are freakishly good at. Follow the blood. Read the tracks. Let the animal's own body finish what you started. Except every one of those hunts still ended with a person inside the animal's reach. And we can measure that cost. 2 researchers took the injuries found on Neanderthal skeletons and compared them against records from modern professions. construction, mining, contact sports. One matched almost perfectly. Rodeo riders. Not because Neanderthals rode anything, because of where the damage sat. Head, neck, shoulders, broken ribs, fractured collarbones. The signature of being hit at close range by something large that fought back. Their skeletons are covered in it. Bones that broke, set crooked, and broke again. And yet these were successful hunters, eating enormous amounts of meat in brutal cold. That is what winning looked like. But now we arrive at the question you have secretly been wondering this entire time. If everything they built still ended with a person standing inside the horns, what finally got them out of there? The first half of the answer was a throwing stick. A carved lever that adds length to your arm and flings a light dart far further than you could throw it. But the motion is enormous. You have to stand and swing your arm over your head, and your whole outline moves against the sky. In open grass with a herd watching for exactly that, it is the difference between dinner and a stampede. So distance went up and cover went down. Somebody had to store the energy outside the body altogether. Take a stave of springy wood, bend it, and hold that bend with a string. The wood fights you the entire time, and every bit of that fight sits there waiting. Let go, and the limbs snap straight and dump all of it into a shaft barely heavier than a pencil. The bow is not a stronger throw, it is a different idea. Your muscles do the work slowly, and the wood spends it in a fraction of a second. You are saving your strength up, then releasing it faster than your body ever could. Look at what that fixes at once. You can draw it from a crouch, from behind a bush, lying flat. Almost nothing moves. It is quiet, and a miss makes a soft sound that animals do not connect to danger, so you simply fit another one. The arrows are light, so you carry 20 instead of 2. And drawing a bow is a technique, not a feat of strength. A small person can use one, a child can use one, which leaves one problem, and it decides this whole story. An arrow is light. Light means shallow. Put a pencil-sized shaft into an animal that weighs a ton, and you have annoyed it. So the arrow was never the thing doing the killing. In a cave on the border of South Africa and Eswatini, there is a thin, polished stick of animal bone, 24,000 years old, worn smooth from handling. The residue on it carries a chemical marker for castor bean, which is where ricin comes from. It is an applicator, something you dip and wipe along a shaft. And this is not ancient history. In the Kalahari, hunters were doing a version of it within living memory. They dig up the larvae of one specific beetle, squeeze out the contents, and work it into the arrow just behind the point, deliberately leaving the very tip clean so they cannot scratch themselves handling it. When the animal is butchered, the flesh around the wound is cut away and thrown out, and the rest is eaten. They knew exactly how far the poison traveled through a body, and they bet their own dinner on knowing it. The poison works over hours, sometimes over a day, so the hunt becomes something else completely. You put one small arrow into an animal from 50 meters away, and then you walk. You read the tracks, sleep, and keep walking. Eventually, you find it down. You did not overpower it. You did not outrun it. You outweighted it. And every part of the old deal is gone. No reach, no risk, no wrestling with something bigger than you. The hunter never enters the fight at all. Then, look at what happened wherever that toolkit arrived. Around 13,000 years ago, groups spreading through North America were making a distinctive stone point. And at several sites, those points turn up inside the ribcages of mammoths. Within a few thousand years, most of the largest animals on that continent were gone. Mastodons, ground sloths bigger than a bear, horses and camels wiped out where they evolved. Scientists still argue about how much of that was us and how much was a warming climate, and honestly both were happening at once. But the same pattern repeats on continent after continent, and the timing keeps lining up with human arrival rather than the weather. And here is the cold part. Those animals had no instinct for us. Nothing taught them to fear a small, slow, two-legged shape standing at a distance doing nothing threatening at all. By the time they learned it, learning it was useless. And the moment that is true of animals, it becomes true of people. In the Nile Valley, there is a cemetery of dozens of bodies from 13,000 years ago. Men, women, and children, with stone points embedded in the bones. And then there is the man frozen into a glacier in the Alps, 5,500 years ago. For years, everyone assumed the cold took him. Then a scan found a stone arrowhead buried in his left shoulder, fired from behind and below, and it had torn a major artery. He bled out in minutes, and somebody had pulled the shaft out and left the head inside him. He never saw it coming. That is the entire point. Think about what that did to us. Before it, killing another person meant getting close. And getting close meant they could hurt you back. Strength mattered. Nerve mattered. Being willing to die mattered. The bow deleted all three. A camp can post a guard against a predator, because a predator has to come to you. It cannot post one against people in the tree line. So what was the deadliest thing ancient humans ever made? Not the club, not the axe, not even the spear. It was a bent stick, a string, and a smear of poison behind the point. And the reason is not the damage it does. It is the risk it removes. Every weapon before it charged the user a price. The thrusting spear cost you broken ribs. Even the throwing stick cost you your cover. The bow charged nothing at all. It let one person of any size kill from total safety, quietly, repeatedly, and then walk away. So the next time you sit down to eat something that was once alive and it costs you nothing at all, you are living inside the result of the oldest idea we ever had. They got there with a spring in the shoulder, with a stone edge and a pot of black tar, with a bent stick, a string, and a beetle. Because they never really invented a weapon, they invented distance. And everything built since is that same thought stretched longer. The rifle, the missile, the drone circling somewhere you will never think to look. That is what a weapon actually is. Not the thing that does the damage. The space between the hand that decides and the body that pays for it.